Good morning. It was a frustrating day yesterday with a lot of the odds-on favourites or the strong fancies scoring first, which doesn't help me from a trading perspective. HJK, for example, Ulu, Cork City. Salzburg and Brann. Arguable, you could have laid the draw second half here. With Salzburg dominating, as I think they had that shock result recently, didn't they? Against Bodo Glimt, or am I getting that mixed up? No, against Rosenborg. It just came out of nowhere. Against Bodo Glimt, no, it was a 2-1 loss.
This market is now in play.
They've been in pretty decent form, Salzburg. So deserved to open the scoring. If you did lay the draw second half, you would have laid against the favourite. It took until the 91st minute, so there we go. Great response from Brann, but that was arguable to take on that draw second half based on in-play stats. If you look at Salzburg's in-play stats, dominating, as you can see there. Molde and KFU, what a competitive match this was. I'm afraid it was a little bit too late for me if you add 6 hours to that. Molde scoring first, again, it just tempered any enthusiasm, given the fact that they should have been strong favourite, which indeed they were. Desmond Tutu, gettable. If you did that, well done. But you've had a bit of a nervy run-in because the favourite wasn't the one to end the Desmond Tutu. In the Oberliga, very difficult league to trust, I'm afraid. The short odds of Ranheim delivering. Well, no, not short odds. Evens favourites must have caught my eye yesterday for some reason. Valaranga is the one I wished I would have played. This is the short odds, 1.45 favourite, getting a 96-minute winner. Wow. Come from behind, 64th minute. It's difficult to determine how to play this. What I would normally like to do is to do the insurance, as you saw with Hibs. It does come out and help a lot.
This market has been suspended.
So arguably I would have played this one, I think, with a look at the in-play stats for Valaranga. 18 goal attempts, 8 on 10 off, one-way traffic. So that would have been a decent play yesterday. The only thing stopping me really from pulling the trigger is just the fact that this league has been awful. And again, we've got the champions, or the league leaders, as they were earlier on in the season, losing 1-0 again, whimpering out. In the Polish Ekstraklasa, Legia Warsaw taking advantage. Did they take advantage of the red card? Indeed they did. So could have laid the draw here after the 52nd minute. And took a couple of late plays from Legia to get through. Scottish League Cup, the only play for me yesterday. As you saw, a lot of the favourites scoring first. Aberdeen, Motherwell, Falkirk, absolutely dominant displays, as you'd expect. Wouldn't have expected this, though. Kilty Hearts leading. 58th minute, but did we lose? No, we didn't. Winner. Break even. That's how and why I love insurance. So arguably it's a good competition because the favourites are delivering. And if they're not delivering, well, we break even. So happy with that. The Allsvenskan, very little to appeal yesterday. I did lay Kalmar late on. Drip laying. Didn't cost too much. This is what I mean by drip laying. It's a way to get involved at the end of the match without it costing you too much money. I lay in increments to win a fiver and then up the winning stake as the liability gets, or the odds get shorter. So I normally start at 1.25 to win a fiver, 1.19 to win a fiver, 1.14 to win a fiver, 1.09 to win 11, 1.06 to win 16, just in case we get that late equaliser from Djurgården. They were dominating at the end of the match, but the clock didn't get them. That was a Hibs match. As you can see, we get a loss in the match odds, but we get a profit with the insurance, which is excellent. That's exactly what we want. Keep our liabilities as low as possible. That's why I do this drip laying as well. The maximum liability would be about £4 or thereabouts. You can see here, 3 shots on 6 off and 8 corners. 83rd minute. They did add to this tally as we got into the end of the match. So deserved to do it. And again, laying the Desmond Tutu in the Gefler and Trelleborgs match based on the in-play stats. Again, you can see here with Trelleborg, 76 attacking pressure index, 3 shots on, 9 off 12 corners. Really good secondary stats. So that got me to lay the draw. And again, look at the liability, keeping it as low as possible in what was a quiet and frustrating trading day yesterday. On to today. Well, let's have a look. It's a bit of a mishmash today, this Sunday. We've got the Swedish Superettan, which I'm not going to research. We've got the Danish Super League opening day of the season. So you either play or you don't. I normally would suggest a watching brief opening matches of the season. Ninth against newly promoted. So Sonda are newly promoted. Could they be vulnerable? That is the question mark for these newly promoted sides. As I say, are they going to sink or swim? That's the question to answer today. And we'll get an answer. We'll see how they perform away against Silkeborg. All bar 2 of Silkeborg's wins last season came within their first 3 months. They have to solve a poor second half of the season where they managed just 2 wins. So hopefully pre-season will have sorted out what was a woeful drop in form at the end of the season. 81% over 1.5 goals last season for Silkeborg suggests we shouldn't expect a 0-0. Vejle and Randers, 8th v 6th from last season. Vejle were newly promoted and they did very well to stay up. 1-2 loss and a 0-0 in head-to-heads. Vejle last season. Randers were poor away, only beating 11th and 12th. So they could be vulnerable, but 2.3 the favourite. The market is finding this opening match of the season difficult to predict. Viborg against Brøndby, 9th against 2nd. 1-2 loss and a 1-0 loss for Viborg in competitive head-to-heads last season. They were unable to beat the top 2 at home, conceding 2 goals. So Brøndby might be favoured today on that basis. They were unbeaten home and away against 8th and lower and against 5th and lower. So I think that could have been their away form there. So I'll just insert that there. So an obvious slant towards Brøndby on paper, but don't forget opening match of the season. Finnish Veikkausliiga, SJK, I would quite fancy here today. Only 4 wins for Mariehamn all season, only 2 clean sheets. They give their opponents a chance. Only 3 defeats for SJK. Both teams have scored in the last 5. They've scored 2+ goals in the last 4 matches. So on that basis, I'd be quite fancying SJK to do a job here today. A 1 o'clock kickoff, nice and early for me. VPS and Ilves. VPS have been involved in European club competition. I think the Europa Conference League. Only 2 defeats for Ilves since the 28th of April. So VPS are meeting an in-form Ilves, as you can tell. They are actual favourites today. They've scored in their last 13. 70% of VPS away goals have come in the second half. So expect second half goals if we don't see any first. VPS might be distracted by this European Conference League. It's very rare for a side like this to be involved in Europe. So they're going to naturally be a little distracted, and that could play into Ilves' hands today. Another match, I think, which is quite readable here. KUPS, normally very reliable and involved in the Conference League as well. 0-0 first leg. They've got the second leg next week. Again, distraction. Whenever you've got a Champions League or Conference League or Europa League, you've got that distraction element in their prior league match. That could cost KUPS. But 3 defeats in the last 4 as well. They've been caught off guard recently, KUPS. That was their only 3 defeats all season. So they've gone off the boil. So have to be an in-play stats look at which KUPS turns up today. Only 1 win for Lahti. So KUPS favoured on that basis if they turn up. Stroms and Tromsø in the Elite Serie, 5 defeats for Stroms. 4 came at home. Only 4 wins for Tromsø. It's very poor stuff. Stroms should feel confident of not losing. Tromsø have had trouble scoring away from home. HamKam and Fred, 2.45 the favourite, no thank you. Haugesund and Viking, no great research into this Eliteserien, just the very basic facts. No win against the top 8 for Haugesund, 5 wins and 6 for Viking. So I'd be clearly favouring the pointy helmets of the Vikings. Rosenborg and Lillestrøm looks to be quite well matched. Only 2 clean sheets for Rosenborg, so they give their opponents a chance. Both teams to score has occurred in the last 8 matches for Rosenborg. That might be something for you to look at. 3 wins in 4 matches for Lillestrøm. They've conceded in the last 10. They've not played 5th to 11th away. So we've got those irking gaps in form, which do mess with the form reading. Polish Ekstraklasa continues its opening matches of the season. Cracovia against Piast from last season, 13th against 10th. Let's have a look. Piast set up to be tough to score 2 goals against away from home. So we might see an overtly defensive Piast today. Cracovia may fancy getting on the score sheet, failing to score only 4 times last season. Lech Poznan against Górnik Zabrze, top 6 clash from last season. All bar 1 home win for Lech came against 7th and lower. So they might find the top 6 the kind of sides they dropped points against. Górnik failed to beat the top 5 side away last season though. Motor Lublin are newly promoted. It's another side for you to look out for. I keep saying it, newly promoted and newly relegated. Newly promoted could struggle. Rakow were champions, but they finished 7th last season. So a bit of a drop. Only 4 away wins. So 1.44 is on the basis of Motor Lublin being newly promoted, not on Rakow's very poor away form. The Allsvenskan, Norrköping against Halmstad. It's horrific form for both. 7 defeats and 8 for Norrköping, and their odds-on favourite. Right. No draw for Halmstad. You might want to lay any late draw. Elfsborg are involved in Europe. They're playing Mjällby. 5 consecutive home wins for the Elf. No draw in 14. 6th against 3rd. They've not met 2nd to 7th at home. So we've got that gap in form again, which is a real negative. Gothenburg and Västerås. 2 consecutive home wins for Gothenburg. 13th against 15th. They've not met 7th to 15th. So we've got these gaps in form in Sweden. If it's not one thing, it's the other, isn't it? 4 out of 5 wins this season were only 1-0 for IFK. So that makes them very ropey odds-on favourites. Only 1 win against the top 12 for Västerås. So on that basis, that's why Gothenburg are favs. Swiss Super League beginning. Young Boys champions last season. Very, very solid trading side. If you just stuck with them throughout the season, they are going to deliver you some great comebacks, some late winners, and the rest. So clearly favouring them against what is a newly promoted Sion. So another newly promoted side. We must remember that. So Control and F, and if you just put in Promote, it will bring up the newly promoted sides for you. Lausanne against Basel. No, thank you. Unreadable Basel. I don't like unreadable sides. Luzern against Servette, 7th against 3rd from last season. Luzern scored 2 goals in each of the 3 head-to-heads last season. Is that going to count for anything? Servette lost only 2 out of 10 matches away against the top 8. So they look pretty good. Don't forget, these are opening days of the season, so it might be a frustrating day of nothing happening, like yesterday. But if we do play, let's keep our liabilities low at this start of the season. We've got the Czech Chancellor League. I don't know what Chancellor League is. It's a new sponsor, because we've got the usual suspects. Slavia Prague. We saw the other Prague, Sparta Prague, getting the win, coming from behind. Slovan Liberec, famous side. That would stand out for me today. Danish Super League we looked at. Danish First Division might be worthy of our attention. It will certainly be on my radar. I will be following the in-play stats throughout the day today. Irish FAI Cup. Not sure what we'll get out of this. UCD have been in pretty good form this season. Shelburne, involved in Europe and the FAI Cup. So are they going to be distracted today? Now, I'm not sure if this is covered on Betfair. Derry City as well, involved in Europe. Both of these two sides playing Gibraltar's sides in Europe midweek. Norwegian Eliteserien we know about. And we're going to go to the Superettan as well. The Ekstraklase we know. Romanian One League might get something out of it, but they'll be part of my watch list anyway. Superettan I'm not going to be researching. It's just been an awful league this season. But yet again, I can react in play. Don't forget, check out your friendlies. You might sniff out a Sligo Rovers versus Everton type recovery from 3-1 down to 3-3 in the last 6 minutes of the match for Everton. That's what I'm looking at. At least if I'm going to play friendlies, that's what I'm looking for. Man United got the win yesterday against Rangers. That would have been 1-1. Scottish sides do tend to fall against Premier League opposition, particularly pre-season. Pathum United in Thailand are playing Dortmund. Wow, man. Are Dortmund in Thailand? They are, in Pathum Thani. I might have to get on my motorbike and head off to Pathum Thani, see Dortmund. Or maybe not. Let's see where it is. It's just above Bangkok, Pathum Thani. So there we go. Dortmund are in Thailand. Benfica, another standout, playing Almeria. They should be the better side. Moving on down. Just any big names. Lazio should have a comfortable win. Marseille. Sunderland playing Eldense from Spain. Dortmund are playing Chengdu Rongchang from China as well. That's been cancelled. They'd rather be in Thailand. Get some nice pad thai. So let's have a look at the tennis before I depart. Probably going to be a 1 o'clock start today for the football, but don't expect an avalanche of plays. It could be a frustrating day like it was yesterday. Rafa Nadal continuing to deliver at pretty good odds in Gstaad. If you've been following him, 1.33 yesterday for the Clay King. Wow. Gift from the gods if you backed him. So we're coming to the deep. We're deep into all of these tournaments as well. So that makes it difficult to choose a weak opponent. But Zverev at home, certainly always going to be on my watch list, particularly if he loses the first set. But I'm taking a back seat on the tennis until we get into the hard court season, which is prior to the US Open. I prefer to play warm-up tournaments for a Grand Slam because you know that those taking part are going to be giving 110%, covering every blade of grass. I'm going to be umming and ahhing about whether to go to Pathum Thani. It's a bit of a drive, though. I want to see the Yellows submarine. Well, that's Villarreal, but the other Yellows. Starting today, probably 1 o'clock and moving on through the afternoon. I'll be on Telegram for you. Could be a frustrating day. We just never know. But I will certainly be targeting these newly promoted sides, particularly if they score first. So that would be my main angle. Have a great day today. And Telegrammers, I'll see you probably from 1 o'clock onwards.